What's your favorite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all the oh, forget it. Soren, Bowie, Daniel O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.
So, hello again and welcome to another episode of Quick Question with Soren and Daniel, the podcast where two best friends and comedy writers ask each other questions and give each other answers. I am one half of that podcast, senior writer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, author of How to Fight Presidents, and Sora Boy, Daniel O'Brien, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Soren Bowie. Sora Man, say hello.
Hey everybody, I'm the original Sora Boy, because that's actually one of my nicknames. It was legitimately one of my nicknames, because
Sora Boy.
Yeah, because it started with Sorbo. With Kevin Sorbo, and then it became Sora Boy in high school. Mm-hmm. So legitimately, one of my high school nicknames. Oh, by the way, I'm Sora Boy. I'm a writer for American Dad, and I'm also on this podcast. Hey, how's it going? Thanks to RocketMoney for supporting our podcast. RocketMoney will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/QQ.
Do you remember, because sometimes people, they love this show for our bits of insider Hollywood gossip that we routinely drop all the time.
The breadcrumbs we toss out.
Yeah. People want to know what it's like in Hollywood, which is why they tune into a podcast by people who live in Culver City and the beach, New Jersey. That's what they want from us. Do you remember when we met Kevin Sorbo?
Yeah. We were in a box at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah. It's a memory that I block out, not because there was anything bad about it. It was a really fun day, but I block it out just because it was such a strange side effect of our past careers that I just routinely forget about. That it's a real moment in time where you and I were doing things successfully on the internet, and we were public-facing people doing that job, and there was an attempt to launch a sort of late-night talk show in a box at Dodger Stadium during Dodger games.
Yeah.
Where they would like bring in guests and they would interview the guests on camera, and then the guests would just like hang out in a box and watch a game, a box that I would never spring for myself. And they were like, we want to interview you on this show, and you could bring some friends. And so I brought you and a couple of our other friends that I knew liked baseball, which, you know, when you work for a comedy website, it's kind of a tall order. There's not a lot of sportos at crack.com. But we went to this thing, and there's no order to what celebrity guests they get. And I'm putting myself in quote as celebrity guests. But that day in the episode of the late night Dodger talk show that I can't seem to find on the internet anymore, it was me, Bill Bellamy, Academy Award winner Marcia Gay Harden, Kevin Sorbo, and John DiMaggio, the voice of Bender, among other things, on Futurama. That was the lineup, and we all just took turns being interviewed, and then like drank Miller Lights and watched a baseball game together.
There was a pie cart too. There was a dessert cart. That's
right.
Maybe my favorite part of the entire event was at one point this woman just rolled in with pies on a cart and was like, "Do you like?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like a lot."
It's such a strange time capsule, capturing a specific moment in time where like everyone was spending money on content. So the idea that someone would invest in a late night show hosted by a guy I've never heard of in a box at Dodger Stadium was like, yeah, sure, maybe that'll hit. You know, everyone says that making content on the internet will return its investment somehow, so we might as well just spend on any idea that anyone has,
right?
And see who we can get for it.
My memory of it was that this was book related, that you were promoting your book and they were like, we'd love to have him on. And the guy ended up being a big Cracked fan. So the majority of the stuff you talked about was Cracked stuff. He threw a bunch of Spider-Man questions at you that were like so outside the box that were like, nobody knows these. Nobody knows these fucking answers.
Well, I remember that the game that he played with me, it was a very devious game where he would say the name of a person, and I had to determine if it was the alter ego of one of Spider-Man's villains or a baseball player. And like,
okay.
That deck is half stacked against me. I know a lot of Spider-Man villains. I know his rogues gallery pretty well. I don't know almost any baseball players.
That's right.
By name.
Yeah.
And there were a couple on there where he would say someone's name and I would be like, oh yeah, that's the alter ego of the Wheel, a Spider-Man villain that no one thinks or talks about, because I think he was in only a few appearances where he just like drives around in a giant wheel and causes mayhem and destruction doing that. But there are other times where like I would be presented with a name and I would really struggle with it, and I could see you and our friends Adam and Cody, who know baseball player names, like screaming inside their skulls because like, how do you
not Cody?
you need to, you need to know, like, a casual baseball fan would have known these baseball players' names, but I was not that. So if it's not Don Mattingly or Derek Jeter or Wade Boggs or Yasiel Puig or something Turner, I do not know who you are. Sorry to you, all of baseball. I don't know any of your names except the ones that I just listed.
Yeah. Well, if this show is no longer on the internet, I'd be somewhat sad to hear that your episode is gone. I would be devastated to hear that the John Hamm episode is no longer up, because when you got the opportunity to do this, you got the email. I was like, what is this? And then like we watched an episode, and the episode is with John Hamm, and John Hamm just gets progressively drunker and drunker throughout the episode. And by the end, like the wheels have just come off the episode. Like he's now asking questions a lot. He's paying attention to the game an awful lot. Like he's just watching the game.
Right.
And it's amazing. It's a real piece of art, and I would be really sad if that's no longer on the internet.
Did they also have you come in to do an interview on that show too?
No. Oh, the guy at one point, like near the end of, maybe near the end of Cracked, like he offered. What was that? Why did I always say no? That was such a fun time. I can't remember, but anyway, I didn't never do it. I don't think Cody ever did it. I don't think Michael ever did it. That's why I think it was book related.
All right, and it was. I hope it moved a lot of copies.
Oh, I know what happened. Okay, and I don't know if this is fit for the podcast or not. You can tell me afterwards. That guy ended up doing more stuff with Cracked because the guy who was running that had previously directed a single porn in his lifetime. And we used to do like these personal experience stories. And he was interviewed by Robert Evans about the time he directed a porn. And
that sounds right.
He had a lot of very fascinating things to say about the experience that you would not have anticipated. And that was like, so that's where he like kept coming back into the world of Cracked.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fun weird time. Got to watch baseball game with very drunk Bill Bellamy, and
he was great. His family was there. It was very nice.
And John DiMaggio, I talked to him for a while, which was great. It's a little bit of a bummer that because he's a Jersey guy as well, and obviously I'm a big Futurama fan, and I've followed his career for a while. And the guy who was running that show introduced us and was like, "Oh, John, you should meet Daniel. He's also from New Jersey." And I mentioned my hometown of Hazlitt, which almost no one really knows. I mean, people know because it's a train station, but outside of New Jersey, no one has any cause to know Hazlitt. And John immediately was like, "Oh, Hazlitt, Fantasies," because there is a clothing on strip club called Fantasies that is near my hometown, and it's it's devastating that that's the immediate association. I think the strip club is somehow notorious. I know like Howard Stern used to talk about it a lot. And if you are ever driving through New Jersey from north to get to the shore, which is a reason people drive through New Jersey, you will pass Fantasies on Route 36 with its very iconic pink on black font, and it's just like an institution, a staple of the route now that people associate with my hometown.
That's such a bummer.
I know.
When your most famous thing is a clothing on strip club. There's something even sadder about that. Like, objectively not sadder, but in terms of being known for a strip club, being known for a strip club where they don't even, like, strip isn't even, it's a misnomer. It's like, oh.
Yeah, well, because I think the move was, and I don't know if they've changed the laws, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. Neither of us are strip club people. It's not a thing that we go to, so like take what I say with a grain of salt because I have no experience. I'm pretty sure at the time, strip clubs in New Jersey, if they took their clothing off, you couldn't serve alcohol. You could only serve like juice and soda and stuff because they didn't want people getting too crazy or rough with the strippers. But at Fantasies, where they only went down to their bathing suits, you could serve alcohol. So the move that other friends in high school would tell me about was go to Fantasies, get some drinks, and then once you've got the courage to look at naked women, then you would go to the other strip clubs where they took their clothes off.
Look naked women in the eye is like what you really need the courage for.
Right.
It's I've been to, I think in my 41 years of life, Daniel, I've been to 2 strip clubs. One of them did not count because it was Jumbo's Clown Room, which is essentially the same thing. It's clothes on. And we went for Katie Stoll's birthday. But the other one I went to when I was in high school, and it was in Mexico, and I should not have been there. I was not ready. And I did not realize that. Is there generally liquors not allowed at strip clubs?
I don't know. We're the blind leading the blind at this point. And I don't know if that's an across the board thing or a specific to New Jersey thing or a specific to New Jersey at the time thing, because I feel like alcohol in strip clubs is a featured scene in
movies,
so many movies and shows. And I specifically want to say Sopranos, which takes place famously in New Jersey. The Bada Bing is a strip club that serves alcohol. And I don't know if that was an invention for the show or if by the time that show came out, they had changed the laws in New Jersey, or it's possible those fellas on Sopranos were doing some crimes. They weren't doing that, operating that strip club completely above board.
It's possible they just didn't have a respect for the law that the general strip club operator might have.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've also noticed that when I lived in Burbank, in between Burbank and Glendale, there are some strip clubs. There's some studios, which I have no idea what they make. I don't know if that's like those are porn studios or what. But there's also a lot of strip clubs. And the strip clubs always made me chuckle because they had like a lunch buffet. Try and like drum up some business in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I thought, surely that's a health code violation too, right? Let alone like you're eating food with naked people over you, but also that you would be serving a buffet.
Yeah.
With naked people sauntering around. That seems like a huge violation.
It seems like not the move. It seems like not the move to me.
Yeah.
I think like as far as a business goes, I don't think you want your clientele getting incredibly full. And as a strip club attendee, I don't think it's hard to put my brain in the head of someone who wants to go to a strip club.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm at a strip club, I am guided by just the one base instinct. I'm not horny and just as hungry.
Right.
I think I will just like let one of my baser instincts take the lead in that particular situation.
I mean, yeah. Even if you go into a place like that and you're like amped up for some nakedness, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be great, and then you get that big first smell of chow mein, like that's gonna blow up some receptors in your brain. That's something I can't. Yeah. I'm not gonna be able to live with the cognitive dissonance of like ignoring one of those things for the other. They're gonna interrupt.
Right. because the reverse of it is also true and confusing to me. If I am starving and I see a restaurant, I'm going into a Chili's and I'm like, oh God, I can't wait to just fucking eat a mess of greasy food. And then I walk in and there's a bunch of beautiful naked women around me. I don't want them to see me eating. I don't want them to see me hungry.
Seeing what you choose.
Yeah.
Knowing that you get tortilla chips and ranch at the beginning of your meal. I recently changed over from one password safe to another, and in doing so was horrified to see all of the different things I still have passwords for and have just completely forgotten about that I'm still signed up for. It was a real eye-opening experience to just get a peek at the stuff that I did a free trial of and then forgot about. Because that's always your plan, right? You're going to do the free trial, then you're going to cancel. And you just don't. Well, that's by design by the company. They know you're going to forget, and that's how they keep you there. That's how they keep their subscribers. You don't have to deal with that anymore. Now with RocketMoney, how much do you think you're paying in subscriptions every month? The answer is more than you think. Over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. Thanks to RocketMoney, I'm no longer wasting my money on the ones that I forgot about. I mean, how closely do you track your bank statements and credit card history to make sure that you're not paying for stuff you don't want? Are you combing through every single transaction you've made? No, you're a normal person. You've got a life. You've got stuff you got to get, like food. Honestly, I don't have time to watch all my accounts that closely. But now that I'm using RocketMoney, it does all that for me, so I don't have to worry about it. With RocketMoney, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all of the subscriptions in one place. If I see something I don't want, RocketMoney can help me cancel it within a few taps. I love how the dashboard shows me this month's spending compared to last month, so I can clearly see my spending habits. Plus, they'll help me create a custom budget and keep my spending on track. I don't like confrontation, so trying to cancel this stuff over the phone or in person, not my jam. RocketMoney does that for me. They do the dirty work. RocketMoney will try to negotiate lower bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill and RocketMoney takes care of the rest. They'll deal with the customer service for you. So, stop wasting your money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/QQ. That's rocketmoney.com/QQ. rocketmoney.com/QQ. All right. Well, do you want to, speaking of food, do you want to do our show? I have a question for you regarding something you ingest.
Sure.
Okay.
I have to stop playing with. I'm always listeners don't realize this, but whenever we're recording this podcast, I'm constantly busying myself with whatever is in front of me, and I'm on camera now, which I realize is a problem. So I just got rid of the piece of scrap paper that I was playing with, and now I miss it. And
so
now
sorry,
there's nothing
dude.
within reach that I can play with. So I'm gonna be a problem on this episode, I think.
The painting's down, I noticed.
Yeah.
The painting didn't last. That was just for an episode?
That was just for the episode, yeah.
Okay.
The painting
right.
is back at the museum.
It was on loan. All right. A thing that I didn't anticipate missing from office life. Like, because we don't go into the office really. I don't right now at all because I'm on hiatus. But even when we were back after COVID, or I don't know, it's after is like a misnomer too. But like when we were back, I realized that I had a mug in there that I was like, I missed the idea of like an office mug that everybody in your office who drinks coffee or tea or whatever, like they would all bring one from home and they would use that one over and over again. And it was just like another little cute way to show off your personality, like putting comic strips up in your cubicle. It was like, you know, somebody kind of like a mug that was like, coffee on a Monday? Or like, you know, like
that's a terrible idea for a mug. What are you talking about?
Stuff that they say, mugs. Like, get the dad down here. Like those ones. Remember?
That's
like
my kite.
Yeah, somebody walk in them and they'd be like, find the blessing in each lady. Like their mugs would say those types of things. Sure. And now like the idea of a office mug is gone. And I was really lamenting that fact. I was like, it wasn't a thing I cared about in the moment. It was a thing that felt ubiquitous enough that it would be around forever. And then it was gone. And I went back in the office and saw mine, and I was like, oh shit, I miss going to the office and seeing Robert's mug that said, writing is my superpower, and like hating it. To be fair, there's a guy in our office, Robert, who has a mug that says writing is my superpower. It is a joke that he has it. It's a joke because somebody like gifted it to him, and he's like, well, of course I'm using this. Yeah. Also, fair to say, it's so frustrating. It is his super, like he's really good at it. And that's like, it makes it even worse. He's such a good writer, and that's very frustrating. But going in the office, seeing that, hating it, seeing what everybody else has decided is like gonna represent them. Did you guys have that in your office?
I don't think we did.
Oh,
the when you say people would bring mugs from home to sort of show off their personality, that is less true in my experience. There are mugs in the office that become yours because you use it a lot. And then you get very upset if someone else is using, quote unquote, your mug. That's my memory of office mug life, which was just like, I always use the big white mug with nothing on it because it has because big is what I want. I want that amount of coffee. And when I see that it's missing from the cabinet, I get upset, but I can't put that anywhere because it's not actually my mug.
Can I just ask, where did those mugs come from originally?
The cabinets. Oh, you mean before that?
Kilned and fired in the cabinet?
The store.
So a PA or somebody went out and got a bunch of mugs that were all different and put them in the cabinets.
Maybe. I mean, I imagine when the office was built, it was stocked with stuff that people need.
I don't know if that's probably true. I think that probably what happened is that at some time in your office's career or its lifetime, it had people coming in who brought mugs from home, and then those mugs just get incorporated, like as those people leave and stuff. Those mugs you found another thing to fiddle with.
Found another thing, but I realize it's loud, and I'm playing with it at the microphone. God,
those
really
things just
start sweating.
Becoming part of the office. Like that's why there's there's variation to it. It's not like one person went to a Goodwill and got a bunch of different kinds of mugs and brought them all to the office. They just have accumulated there, and then they become other people's. And I think that's also somewhat true of ours. But like it's the same. Nobody wants to use paper cups the whole time because you feel bad about it. So you're using a mug. Everybody's got their own designated mug. And I was going to ask you what yours was, but the fact that it's a big white nothing,
correct,
is not the answer I was hoping for, but certainly one that's making me think.
Yeah. I'm in a strange place with mugs in my real life because I have a lot of mugs. I've accumulated mugs. It's the kind of thing that's really easy to like buy and collect. And for a while I would do it like, oh, I'm in a new place, let me buy a mug and a magnet that'll remind me of this thing that I did. And I obviously have coffee every day. I end up using the same 2 or 3 mugs over and over again. And like I wash them obviously, but they're not even my favorite mugs. They're just the ones that end up being the first ones I see when I open the mug cabinet. Yeah. And I am very clutter averse, very hoarding averse. I am like firmly in the camp of like get rid of things that you don't use, except these mugs I can't seem to get rid of. All this like back deck of mugs that haven't touched a liquid in years. I'm like, Well, no, I'm not going to get rid of that. Even though I don't use it, I'm not going to get rid of it because I might use it.
Right.
Not today and probably not tomorrow. But what if somewhere down the line I'm hosting 14 people in our one-bedroom apartment and they all want coffee in the morning? I'm going to look like an idiot if I don't have options.
I'm with you. I only use it with 2 different mugs. And if I do have a whole like cadre of mugs that are just like ready to go at a moment's notice. My wife is less specific. Like she could care less like what mug she pulls out of there. I don't think she's looking. Like she just grabs whatever happens to be there. And that's wild to me. It's wild that you like, because you like the I don't know, you like the feel, like the whole point of coffee or tea is comfort. And like everything you've zeroed in on the experience and exactly what you want from the experience. And deviation from that sucks. It pisses you off.
Yeah. That's why every podcast I think you'll see me drinking water out of this Contigo, which means with you in Spanish. This Contigo like thermoflask thing. I have other thermoflasks too, and I don't use them. I just have this thing. And when I accidentally leave this thing somewhere, leave it in my car, or like forget to take it on a trip, and I get a replacement thermoflask, I'm super bummed out about it. I like the weight of this, and I like that it's a little bit broken. I like that part of it is like really scraped up as if it's been dropped on the sidewalk a bunch of times, and I can play with that.
It's been tested in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Yeah.
Are you gonna ask me that same question?
Oh, what's your mug? What are we talking about? What does your office mug look like?
Oh, that's a good question, Daniel. That's a great question.
Jesus.
Oh, what did I have on
pissed.
my... Oh, yeah. It said WGA member.
Oh.
When I got hired on my show and joined the WGA, I went to every single type of WGA meeting there was. I was like, I'm going to be a good steward of the guild. Like, that was like more important than even my job. I was like, this is a thing I'm going to be. This is a new part of my personality. I'm going to be a good representative of the Writers Guild, of the union. And so like whatever they offered, I went. And in some ways that really did pay off because you got like a mentor and stuff like that. But they also, at a lot of these early events, they just give you stuff that was like, this was maybe like a PWGA event, which was the one for telling you what your benefits were. And one of the things that they had, and not even like handing out, one of the things they had in a cardboard box that you could dig through was a WGA mug. And I was like, bingo, that's mine. Like that will be my thing. And took it, brought it to the office. And I gotta say, like, I did it kind of to be insufferable because everybody there is in the WGA. So to like show off that you're in the WGA is a very fun thing to do. Everybody really wanted that mug. Everybody who was there also really wanted that mug. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's like, it's silly to say I'm part of the club, but I still want to say I'm part of the club.
Yeah. I get that. I like my Writers Guild t-shirt, and I think I have a Writers Guild hat that I never wear.
Yeah. I don't know. The Writers Guild t-shirts, they're fine. I wore them during the strike. They're great. They're great shirts. I would love to wear it in another quadrants of my life, but they are easily 15 pounds each. Like thick cotton.
Yeah.
You can't like, this is not a shirt, even no matter what you did to it. If you tore off the sleeves or anything, you try to wear it to the gym, you're just wearing chainmail. It's not worth it.
Yeah. It is occurring to me that while I like the shirt and I liked having it and I wore it to every single strike event, I have not worn it since. And it's not even like, it's not even in the rotation. It's not even in the drawer of shirts. It's away with the shirts that I can't throw out for nostalgia reasons. Yeah. Because I'm very proud of the guild, but the idea of like walking around with a guild shirt is strange to me.
It just I don't know that you could do it. I don't think any of us could pull it off. I've seen people at the gym with it. First of all, I'm confused that they're wearing it at the gym. But I will say, go up to them and I'll say solidarity, and they don't know what I'm talking about. And then I point to their shirt and they're like, "Oh yeah, this old thing."
Yeah.
But I will say, with those shirts, like I had, did you guys have the blue and white ones that were like you see on all the strike videos and stuff?
I never got that. I only have like the light gray one.
Okay. So there were these blue and white ones. You saw them if you watched television during the strike at all and you watched the news. This is the shirt you saw on everybody. You would have multiple versions of it. Or you not multiple versions. You just have like duplicates of it because you can't wear the same shirt every single day while you're out sweating around in mid-July.
Yeah.
And so I have a bunch of these shirts, and I gotta say, if the studios wanted to break the union, they would have designed this exact shirt. It is brutal to wear. It's like it's tight in the arms in a way, like tight under the, like down in here, like down in your wing, in a way that like a shirt shouldn't be tight, and like the seams and the armpit are very, very tight, and the shirt is heavy as shit. It's like, and you're marching around out in the sun. It's adding to that. It's like adding to the weight. It's brutal. I don't know why the shirts are like that. So I see it in the drawer and I'm like, oh yeah, that shirt. I will never ever wear that again, or until I have to strike again.
3 more years.
That was my question for you. I have other stuff we could talk about if you want.
Soren, quick question. If it's the future, let's say, and they just decide that everyone has a uniform, not a matching uniform, all of society, Star Trek rules or anything like that, but they just, like, for simplicity's sake, you're going to wear one style outfit, one kind of outfit combination for the rest of your life. What is your uniform? Or another way into this is, so our favorite show, Taskmaster, the contestants on that show pick their own uniform that they spend the entire series in. Every time they're in a challenge, they're in whatever they're wearing. And some people are clearly going for comfort. Like one guy was in pajamas the entire time. And sometimes people are Phil Wang dressed in the iconic Bruce Lee yellow dick out jumper,
the yellow tracksuit,
and some people like a guy Nick Mohammed on the current series is dressed in full Dracula makeup and Dracula costume. So some people try to have fun with it, and some people try to like do something functional. And I like to think about that a lot. What would my Taskmaster uniform be?
Yeah,
the thing that I'm going to be seen on television for 8 weeks or whatever. Or if that's not an accessible way in for our audience, what would your daily uniform be? You wear the same thing to work every day, and it's your choice. What is it?
Yeah, what is your Steve Jobs?
Go.
Steve Jobs outfit?
Yeah.
What is yours?
I think it's probably white t-shirt and jeans. I think that's my Taskmaster fit, as well as my, like, there was a period of my life, my early 20s, where I stealthily wore that every single day to the cracked offices. And like there was, you weren't a cracked employee yet. There was like 3 of us in the building that were cracked, and none of them were on content but me. So I wasn't interacting with them or indeed almost anyone every day. And I had gotten it in my head from probably some Stoic philosophy book or some other like simplify your life kind of books, where it was just like, decide what you're going to wear, like have a thing that you wear all the time, make choosing your outfit in the morning not something that takes up any real estate in your brain.
Take it off the table.
Because you have a million decisions that you need to make every day. So if you can remove any of those decisions, why not do it? And I was like, I'm just going to get a bunch of clean, crisp white t-shirts, and I'm going to wear the same blue jeans, and I'm just going to do that every day. And it's an easy thing to like sort of fade in the background that is not as like noticeable to everyone else that you're wearing a uniform, because you would notice if someone was wearing a beekeeper's outfit every day or like a very specific band or sports t-shirt, but a white t-shirt and jeans is not something that a regular person would like clock as, hey, weren't you wearing that yesterday? Because there's nothing very memorable about it.
Right. So I don't own any white shirts. I love the way white shirts look. especially in the summer when you've got a little tan going.
Yeah.
I mean, a crisp white shirt looks great. I've learned over time, though, that I don't want to own white shirts for a lot of reasons. One, frequently they're a little bit see-through, and I don't dig that. They are also, after about 3 washes, it looks like shit. Like, you can't.
Correct.
It's so
That's a
hard
real
to keep a white T-shirt looking nice. They look like dog. Like the color starts to change a little bit, and not in like the way other clothes fade to white. White does this opposite thing where it like takes on like a gray or a beige to it.
Yeah.
It starts to gain color. And
they do just become unwearable after 3 or 4 cycles. That's correct.
And that's nothing. I mean, that's like you barely get to wear it ever before the neck is a little bit too stretched out for a white shirt. It starts to look less like a good white shirt and more like an undershirt. And also,
I found, this might be disgusting. I found a white V-neck shirt that I liked at a store, and I liked the fit of it. So I got 2 of them, and 2 identical white V-neck shirts. And I don't think so. So my science isn't airtight, but I'll wear one and sweat in it and live in it, and then I'll hang it back up, and I'll remember next time wear the other one, and then hopefully in the darkness of the closet, the shirts just forget, and they don't ever need to be washed because enough time has passed. And like the filthy shirt will see me put on the clean shirt and be like, was that me? Oh, and then they'll just forget about all the smelly sins that have accumulated inside of them.
right, they're like, I got to get my act together. He's wearing the other one.
Yeah.
I gotta clean it up a little bit.
Pit them against each other.
Yeah.
Armpit pit them. etc. You know how jokes
Very
work.
literally.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of a white shirt in theory, but like white shirts, wearing them, I'm bad at that. I'm not like there's the logistics of just that it gets gross over time, but also I'm so bad about spilling shit on me. Whether it's like toothpaste, it's some of my lunch, it's some of like the kids' stuff. Like kids, they pick their nose and I pick them up, and then I've got stuff on my shoulder. Like I can't hang in a white shirt. I've got one that's like it's like kind of like a light blue. And even that one, I'm like, well, this shirt will last me a week.
Yeah.
That's all I get out of this. And like, that's just the plan now. So I don't think, especially for something like Taskmaster, it would be fun to wear only because you could watch the map of horrors that happen throughout the show on that shirt by the end.
There's a guy on the current season who's like very clearly a big Freddie Mercury fan. So he's wearing, I think, like normal pants and then a white sleeveless tank top, and over the tank top he's got like a yellow iconic Freddie Mercury kind of jacket. And like when you see him posing in that, it's like, that looks like a cool outfit. You're a cool looking guy. So much of the show has got him doing strenuous tasks outdoors. So he has removed the jacket. And if I'm him and I'm watching that show, I'm very unhappy because the tank top on like no shade, not to body shame. He doesn't have a great body for a tucked in white tank top, sleeveless, and it's not the cleanest tank top I've ever seen. And without the jacket providing the tank top context, it looks like he's a dad who was not prepared to do yard work suddenly. It's just like, oh, it's like kind of a dirty tank top tucked into jeans, and he's like carrying a bucket full of rubber ducks or something, whatever the task is.
It does seem, I mean, that's a huge mistake I see on the show, which is that people come in with a costume where they're like, this is going to be great. And it really fucking gets in the way of everything that they're doing. There's a woman who wore a cape. Yeah. Bad idea. The cape was a problem. There was Noel Felding. Noel Felding wore these big platform shoes. And to his credit, like there's a soccer challenge. He's a really good athlete. Like he's really great at like juggling a ball and platform shoes and stuff, but still like, you can see how it's inhibiting him. So I think that if it's in my Taskmaster outfit, I'm going to steer into athlete. I'm going to wear like gym shorts. I'm going to wear running shoes. I'm gonna do sweatbands, headband, and then maybe like a fast wicking shirt, and really try to make that my thing. As like and when I say make that my thing, I go into any challenge where it's clear like we're inside, and I'm going to be bummed. I'm gonna make it clear to Alex Horn that like this sucks. Like let's go do something physical.
Yeah.
And not even try on those challenges.
My biggest self question for my Taskmaster uniform, and also my like if I had to pick a uniform for the rest of my life, is the hat question. Because you said sweatbands, and a hat is such a nice crutch for me for sweat, and to hide baldness or bad haircuts. But it's also you're just a guy in a hat all the time,
Right?
which is not ideal. But that is no one's ever going to ask me to be on Taskmaster ever in a million years. But I spend a lot of time thinking about like, all right, if I get the call, I'm going to really need to know pretty early on, hat or no hat, and what hat I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit ahead of myself.
Well, so that's the other thing from filming in general, that you're not allowed to really wear a hat when you film because the shadows on your face just fuck everything up. So if you wear a hat while you're filming, you got to wear it way back on your head. That's why everybody from sitcoms, from Friends to King of Queens, like they wear hats in those shows, but they wear them like a dork. Like they don't wear their hat down low. They wear their hat all the way back on their head, so there's just like hair poking out the front. They wear it like the child neighbor on a sitcom. Like that, adults wearing hats like that is like, no, that's not how people wear hats. But you don't have a choice, so you'd have to do that on Taskmaster.
Soren, I got another quick question for you because it's come up. I wasn't planning on asking this, but I like an organic opportunity. Soren, quick question.
Yeah.
Are capes cool? Been thinking about it a lot because
Like Cape Cod? Yeah, Cape Cod's rad, man.
Every superhero, almost every superhero wears a cape. It's such a huge part of superhero-dom. And we like superheroes. They're the most dominant IP in the world, broadly speaking. And you would think that at some point, like, it must have been decided that we need to visually quickly show off the status and coolness of our heroes. Cape is a good shorthand for that. In the same way that, like, I'm pretty on board with, oh, that guy's dressed in head to toe, leather jacket, and he's got a motorcycle. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, the duster.
That's there's like a coolness there or like a toughness there, in the same way that I assume at some point was like, capes are cool. But that brings me to my question. Are capes cool? I think about this probably more than I think about anything else.
We have as a society, I would say, gotten so far past capes. Because yes, you're right that IP, like the superhero IP, is the most predominant thing culturally. But if you look at all those Marvel characters and Marvel is obviously the most successful, there's one with a cape, and it's Thor, and he's a big joke. Like the whole point is that Thor is like dated and like and not up with what's going on. So I think in that sense, like, and his cape looks silly. His cape looks fucking silly.
Yeah.
Batman, I don't know. I guess Batman's cape is cool, but in the Batman, it is so downplayed. Like the cape is basically not even part of the costume. You don't see him jumping off of shit and the cape fluttering down behind him and stuff. It's like the cape is just, it's there as like a formality. But all the other superheroes that are popular right now are capeless. And I'm trying to think of like what would go ahead.
It's so fascinating and interesting to me that we have superheroes with capes and, like, I don't know, Roman gladiators with capes, Draculas have capes. There's so many capes represented in fiction for cool people or scary people or tough people. I don't know if there's any more of a drop off
Disconnect?
from fiction to reality that if I saw any motherfucker walking down the street with a cape, there is nothing farther from my mind than coolness or toughness or scariness.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
also,
the biggest disconnect.
and like the bigger the cape in fiction, the cooler it is. Like a
Yeah.
cape dragging on the ground is fucking rad. But yeah, you're right. In the real world, you can't get away with that. And the only thing that I would probably even say was barely acceptable was if I saw like a woman wearing a cape that ended at her lower back and went over one shoulder. I'd be like, okay, I guess that's a thing now.
Yeah.
But but anything longer than that, and I'm like, no, we don't do
Yeah.
that. We're not doing that. Have you ever seen a human being wearing a cape that wasn't aping a superhero?
Not outside of Comic-Con, no. But I'm surprised that I haven't, now that I'm thinking about it. Or like you'll see it, yes, in costume settings. Sometimes people will dress in costumes for a race or something like that. But never just out in public in the world. I'm surprised I didn't see it in LA where people dress
They'll do
however the
anything.
fuck they want and everyone looks
Yes.
stupid. But there's just nobody, because you'll see guys with like very dated facial hair that I think is like that's a loud choice to have a mustache that curls and like a very pointy beard. That's like a choice, and sometimes it'll be paired with like very dated, completely circular, tiny mole man glasses or a top hat. These are all things that I've seen in the wild, in the real world, by someone who was like, yeah, I like this particular aesthetic, so I'm wearing it in the world. I'm shocked that more people haven't been like, look, I just think capes are cool, and so I wear capes. I think even people who do think capes are cool know that it's not worth the heat of being seen in one in the world.
Maybe, or maybe there's just a lack of access. You can't walk into the mall and like linger in the cape aisle and be like, I wish I was a person who could pull off a cape. Maybe I'll just go to
Yeah.
the dressing room and try on a couple capes. Like the option's not there. So even if you really,
Yeah.
if you were really into capes, you would also have to be really into sewing, because you're
Yeah.
making your own. I'm trying to think of even like why did we have capes in the first place? What was it? Was this? I'm trying to think of like, is this
Great question.
Victorian London with Jack the Ripper, and at the time everyone was so cold all the time because we didn't have Gore-Tex yet, and so everyone's just wearing a blanket? What were we doing?
Oh yeah, what function are they serving?
Yeah, what does it do?
It's a fascinating question, and one we're going to get to right after this.
Oh shit, they're still here.
What if we just ended the show? Not even
The
just the
sound of
episode,
a-
but just the whole show.
The sound of a bathroom window shattering and us running away. Yeah, I think it's gotta be. It must have been a warmth thing. Can that be true?
Yeah. We could certainly find the answer
No,
if we
that's
looked
no
it up,
fun.
and I think it would be very unsatisfying. I think it would be like
Yeah.
probably a blanket thing or like an offshoot of coats or just like a purely invented status thing that some
Yeah,
royal
like
prick
coattails.
was like, I think
Coattails,
this
yeah.
should have, I think I should have a thing that like hangs behind me and goes on for a very long time because it
Yeah.
makes me take up more space than I deserve.
I think the closest we get in society is a bridal train. We still
Yeah.
do like the look. We're into the look of like
Yeah.
fabric just fucking dragging behind you. But we save it for the very special, the very important days. And I would also say like, yeah, coattails. Coattails are serve a lot of the same purpose, all completely functionless, stupid. But for some reason, having just some extra cloth flapping around down by your ass, people are like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm glad we talked about
so
capes.
it is interesting that you bring that up, Daniel, because when I made the Cape Cod joke, I had been thinking about somebody had like there was a license plate I saw that was like Sox Cape, and then they had a
Socks cape?
Sox Cape,
Oh.
and then they had a border around their license plate that was Red Sox. And I was like, is this somebody from Massachusetts? I mean, is this somebody from Cape Cod? Like, that's the only thing that I could imagine. And then I was like, wait a second. Why do we call them capes? Like when they stick off of the land like that, like Cape Suzette. Remember Cape Suzette,
Yeah.
obviously.
Cape May, Cape Cod, Cape
Yeah.
Canaveral.
Why do we call them capes? Is it because it's doing the same thing as the clothing? Is it like flapping off?
Can't imagine it is. I think that's just got to be a
These are
coincidence.
things
I think
we
it's
could
just-
so easily look up. And I'm just not gonna do it because I like thinking about it instead.
I don't know that the Sox Cape is necessarily related to Cape Cod because Cape is now also it's entered into the lexicon as like modern slang for like really sticking up for or defending something.
What?
That I will actually look up. Cape slang. Cape is no. Yeah, caping is slang for defending or supporting someone, especially someone considered unworthy of it. So, yeah, Red Sox, Cape Sox,
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
why not?
Okay. And I'm sure that's born from superhero. Like you're white knighting for something. Like you were being a superhero for some.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe this isn't a Cape Cod thing. I wish it was. Love the idea of Cape Cod. It's
don't
like
know
my
why.
white T-shirts, Dan.
It
It's
doesn't
just
matter.
like in theory,
you
Cape
could
Cod
still
is cool.
pretend it is. Who cares?
All right.
Yeah.
And so you don't think that it's because it's flapping off the land? It's flapping off the mainland? People are like, yeah, it looks like a cape.
It could be, but unfortunately, there's no way of finding out.
No way to know. Yeah. At the beginning of this podcast, we have a theme song.
If I don't already know a thing,
We have a theme song that's like, if there's an answer, they're going to find it. That's never once been true of this podcast. We've never,
no.
when like we run into something, and it's most of the time that we don't know or aren't willing to lie about, we don't do anything about it. We just let it
Yeah.
live as like a fun, magical question for the world.
There are so many questions that don't get answered at all. And a lot of the times I'll look back at like episode titles or descriptions and think like, that would make a good podcast episode if ever explored. But unfortunately, they got distracted talking about capes again, and we
We
never
talked
found
about-
out what Soren's uniform would be.
Yeah, we talked about mugs for so long that we lost track of time, and the color of a guild T-shirt. Okay, well, that's enough of this show. We've wasted enough of your time, everyone.
Totally.
I'm so sorry. The show is Quick Question. You know that. You can find Daniel and I on Blue Sky. You can also follow Quick Question on X still. It's at QQ_Soren and Dan. They do fun little clips of us. You can also find little clips of these episodes with video on Instagram at QQ Soren and Daniel. We have an email, which is QQ with@gmail.com. And we have a Patreon. And Patreon has bonus content with bonus video that you can watch of this. We're going to answer questions from you guys. It's at Patreon/Quick Question. Occasionally we might. And, if you want to watch this on YouTube, you can watch it at youtube.com/@QQpodcast. Thank you again to Jacob Weinstein. He's our engineer, sound editor, producer, glue to the show today. And in general, Gabe Harder is also doing that job, and you should always try to find Gabe Harder because he loves to be found. Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favorite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it over? Where did all the other weeks on? Oh, forget it. Soren Bowie, Daniel O'Brien. Two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.